Well, imagine you have spent, I don't know, 4 agonizing years studying for a single career-defining exam.
Right, like your entire future is just riding on this one test.
Exactly. And now imagine finding out the test might be canceled. Not because of your performance, but because the entire recruitment system is just paralyzed by allegations, court orders, and viral videos of police weaponry.
Yeah, it's wild.
It really is. Today is Sunday, August 9th, 2026. And whether you're prepping for your Monday morning meeting or you just want to understand how the world actually works, well, you're in the right place for this deep dive.
You really are. Tomorrow's headlines are defined by absolute systemic gridlock. We're looking at a Monday shaped by intense campus clashes, massive legislative battles over civil society, turbulence in the skies, and a geopolitical bottleneck that's moving global oil markets as we speak.
Yeah, we have a lot to cover. We're pulling from sources like Reuters, The Hindu, NDTV, and more to really break down the mechanics behind these stories. So let's jump straight into the situation developing on the ground in Jharkhand right now. Tomorrow, Ranchi is bracing for a massive student-led protest march.
Right. These are the aspirants for the JPSC and JSSC, the state's public service and staff selection commissions.
Exactly. They are marching directly on the state assembly. And according to the Times of India, the government has stepped in with a partial concession. They've agreed to at least consider canceling 3 exams, which includes that massive 14th JPSC Civil Services exam.
Okay, but they are drawing an absolute line on the CGL exam, right?
Yeah, the combined graduate level exam, they are not moving on that.
And, I mean, why does that specific exam matter so much here? It's all about the legal mechanics, really. The government is arguing that their hands are completely tied. They're pointing to the fact that the CGL exam was conducted under direct court orders. And crucially, the selected candidates are already employed. They're already placed in the system.
Right, which makes it incredibly messy to undo.
Exactly. But the students are pushing back, arguing that if the broader recruitment machinery is flawed, then the integrity of the CGL exam is just compromised by default. But it's truly fascinating here.
What's that?
The anatomy of a digital rumor. Because over the weekend, a video went viral showing security forces carrying what looked identical to pellet guns.
Oh, right. And just hearing the phrase pellet guns instantly triggers historical trauma in Indian protests.
Oh, absolutely.
It raises fears of lethal force and permanent injuries. But the Times of India actually reported a highly specific clarification from the Ranchi City SP on this. The police confirmed that the weapon in that viral video was actually a paintball gun.
A paintball gun? Wait, really?
Yeah, not a pellet gun at all.
See, the underlying logic of that tactic is actually quite clever from a crowd control perspective. Because instead of using immediate aggressive force, like, say, tear gas or water cannons, which can instantly escalate a riot, a paintball gun is essentially a physical tracking cookie.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. The police use it to mark troublemakers with a visible splash of paint. It doesn't neutralize them on the spot, it just tags them. So they can be easily identified and arrested after the crowd disperses.
Right. It's a very analytical approach to policing, but, I mean, it does absolutely nothing to solve the core political impasse here. The students are demanding a CBI investigation into the alleged exam irregularities. They're calling that totally non-negotiable.
But the state government isn't offering that, right?
No, they're only offering a judicial inquiry led by a retired judge. And the mechanism there is vital to understand. A CBI probe brings in central federal authority.
Right.
But a state-led judicial inquiry often leaves protesters feeling like the state government is essentially just, investigating itself.
And that tension over who gets to investigate whom brings us directly to a very different kind of political protest happening over in West Bengal.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Over the weekend, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee faced an incredibly hostile crowd in Halisahar. She was there visiting the family of a Trinamool Congress worker who allegedly died in police custody.
And things escalated quickly.
Very quickly. Her vehicle was suddenly surrounded by demonstrators. They were shouting, "Chor chor!" which translates to thief, and they pelted her car with mud, slippers, and, according to her own account, large bricks.
Wow. I mean, this is a textbook example of how public spaces become fiercely contested political arenas. Because, as reported by the Times of India, we are looking at 2 completely divergent narratives trying to define the exact same physical event.
Yeah, Banerjee is claiming this was an orchestrated conspiracy. She's pointing to the mechanics of the event, specifically a suspicious lack of police security, arguing that a sitting chief minister should never be left that vulnerable to a mob.
But the BJP's Suvendu Adhikari is pushing a completely opposite explanation. He is framing this as spontaneous, organic public anger. And he made a very specific point of noting that she went to this family's home completely uninvited.
Which is a pretty sharp political counterpunch.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And Adhikari pushed back even further, questioning the selective nature of her empathy. He openly asked why she chose to visit this specific family, but conspicuously did not visit the family of the RG car rape and murder victim, who the public refers to as Ahaya on the second anniversary of her death.
Right, so he's essentially accusing her of trying to sabotage that ongoing probe through distraction.
Exactly.
So you have the ruling TMC claiming the BJP is deploying organized goons to physically target their leader, while the BJP frames it as the natural consequence of a state bubbling over with public dissatisfaction. Both sides are just trying to act as the ultimate arbiter of truth here.
And that battle over competing narratives doesn't stop in the streets. It moves straight into the courts, where the standards of proof are completely different.
Yeah, perfectly said. Speaking of the courts, a Delhi court has just handed down an acquittal for the former Wrestling Federation of India chief Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, along with Vinod Tamar.
All right, this is in that highly publicized sexual harassment case filed by 6 women wrestlers.
Exactly. And according to NDTV, the court's rationale was sweeping. They stated the allegations were false, fabricated, and appeared to be part of a coordinated, politically motivated conspiracy.
Which really forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question about the mechanisms of our justice system. I mean, the court literally observed that the complaints seemed rehearsed and planted.
Planted. That's a strong word for a court to use.
Yeah, they pointed out that the language, the phrasing, and the patterns across the multiple formal complaints were strikingly similar.
But wait, if the court is officially calling this a planted conspiracy, how do we square that with reality? I mean, we all watched a 36-day protest at Jantar Mantar back in 2023. Top athletes, Olympians who have brought immense glory to the country, sat on the streets demanding action.
Right.
Are we supposed to believe multiple elite athletes just abandoned their training for over a month to coordinate a fake story?
And that is the exact friction point. For those athletes, this ruling is a devastating blow. NDTV actually quoted senior lawyer Rebecca John, who represented 4 of the women, calling the acquittal deeply, deeply disturbing.
I can imagine.
But you also have to look at how the legal machinery operates. The court pointed out that 2 wrestlers who initially filed complaints ended up turning hostile during the proceedings.
Which usually suggests they buckled under the immense, crushing pressure of a high-profile legal battle, rather than, that they were lying from the start.
Yeah, exactly.
But Singh himself told reporters he was satisfied with the verdict, repeating his claim that he would have hanged himself if the allegations had been proven true. So it just leaves the broader institutional issue of athlete safety trapped in this murky, unresolved space.
Yeah, and that phenomenon where institutional administration clashes directly with ideological expression is also tearing through our universities right now.
Right. Let's look at Jawaharlal Nehru University. The administration there abruptly canceled the venue booking for an upcoming book discussion. The book is called Fractured Communities, Adivasi Histories and the Politics of Power.
And it's written by a former JNU student, Umar Khalid.
Yes. And The Hindu reports that the administration's official reason for canceling the auditorium booking was, quote, non-disclosure of full facts regarding the program.
I mean, this is where bureaucracy gets weaponized. What does non-disclosure of full facts actually mean?
Right. It's so vague.
It's essentially a clerical guillotine. The JNU Students' Union is arguing that the dean originally instructed them to use the exact booking format that the administration later cited as the excuse for cancellation.
Wow.
It's like getting Al Capone on tax evasion. You don't argue the ideology, you just claim they filled out Form 4B incorrectly. So the students are framing this as blatant anti-Adivasi censorship.
Especially considering Khalid himself is currently in jail, related to the 2020 Northeast Delhi riots conspiracy case. And he wasn't even going to be physically present at the event. But just his name alone on the poster is enough to trigger a massive institutional reaction.
Precisely. Because the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, the ABVP, is actually taking full credit for forcing this cancellation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as per The Hindu, the ABVP actively protested against the university officials who initially granted the permission. Their stated logic is that they refuse to let a national university serve as a platform to glorify someone they explicitly label a traitor.
So it forces us to ask, does a serious criminal allegation completely invalidate the academic value of an author's historical research?
It's a tough question. And that fear of words and ideas inciting real-world consequences isn't just limited to campus auditoriums. It is actively extending into how the police are preemptively monitoring digital platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look down in Kerala. RSS leader and right-wing commentator T.G. Mohandas was taken into police custody on Sunday. The Indian Express details that this arrest stems from a YouTube video he uploaded.
Right, he was commenting on the Neat Paper Leaks protest happening all the way up at Delhi's Jantar Mantar.
Right, and in the video, he stated that rapes and murders will happen during that demonstration.
The causality here is what makes this so significant. You have a citizen uploading a video in Kerala, commenting on a protest thousands of miles away in Delhi, and it results in immediate police custody under the premise of preventing a disturbance of public peace.
It's crazy.
It really shows how the state views digital reach.
But the political fallout is deeply cynical here. The Indian Express notes that the police claim they are simply executing a lawful, preemptive investigation to stop potential unrest. But the BJP is pushing back hard, calling the arrest a calculated discriminatory tactic.
Right, they're arguing the Kerala government is using this YouTube video arrest as a shiny object, just to pull the media's attention away from the state's alleged failures in recent flood relief operations.
So you have this dynamic where the state is acting as the ultimate regulator of digital speech to maintain public order, while the opposition argues that the power of arrest is simply being weaponized to silence a political commentator and aggressively manage the news cycle.
Yeah, it's a messy situation.
It is. But moving from the friction of digital regulation, let's look at a moment of sheer technological optimism.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered a speech at IIT Delhi's 57th convocation this weekend. He was hyping up the booming sectors of space, semiconductors, and drones. But he dropped one specific line that really caught fire.
Oh, I saw this.
He said that somewhere in India right now, a young engineer is proudly declaring themselves the first in my bloodline to build a rocket.
And that poetic abstraction became reality almost instantly, didn't it? Pawan Kumar Chandana took to X and basically replied, "That's me."
Yeah, he did.
The Times of India covered his viral response, where he thanked the Prime Minister for the direct validation. But if we dig into why this matters beyond just a feel-good tweet, Chandana's personal trajectory is the exact blueprint of India's shifting technological economy. I mean, he's an IIT graduate who started his career at ISRO.
Right, a highly coveted, super stable government job. But in 2018, he walked away from the public sector to co-found Skyroot Aerospace. And Skyroot is not some theoretical venture capital vaporware.
No, not at all.
They actually launched Vikram-S, which was India's first privately developed suborbital rocket, and they recently sent Vikram-1 into orbit.
And why does a private startup matter when we already have ISRO? Because of the mechanics of innovation. State agencies have low risk tolerance, right, because they're spending taxpayer money.
Right, obviously.
But private space companies can iterate rapidly, fail fast, and build cheaper. We're moving from an era where building a rocket meant you had to navigate the bureaucracy of a massive state-run institution to an era where private entrepreneurs are the tip of the spear.
And when the Prime Minister acknowledges that shift in a convocation speech, it serves as a massive, symbolic green light for capital investment in the private space sector.
Exactly. But, while we are celebrating incredible achievements in the sky, we also have to confront some terrifying safety vulnerabilities in the air.
Yeah, this next story is wild. The captain of an Air India flight from Phuket to Delhi has just been temporarily grounded after failing a post-flight dope test.
And what's crazy is why they even tested him.
Right. According to the New Indian Express, this testing protocol was only initiated by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau because that specific flight hit severe turbulence, plunging 300 feet and injuring 21 people on board.
The testing mechanics here are the real story. And the New Indian Express provides some incredibly crucial expert nuance that prevents this from just being a sensational headline.
Yeah, we need to be careful here.
Right, because the pilot's initial breathalyzer test, which checks for alcohol, came back completely negative. It was the subsequent more complex blood and urine test that flagged the presence of psychoactive substances. But aviation experts are screaming from the rooftops, warning the public not to jump to conclusions before the highly sensitive confirmatory lab results are finalized.
Yeah, because psychoactive substance doesn't necessarily mean illicit drugs. Think about the last time you took an over-the-counter cough syrup or a heavy painkiller for a bad back. If you were a commercial pilot, that exact same medication could instantly ground your entire career.
Exactly.
The Federation of Indian Pilots pointed out that self-medication, simple painkillers containing trace amounts of morphine, or even certain dietary supplements can trigger a false positive.
And those substances can remain detectable in your system for months. But honestly, this incident exposes a terrifying systemic blind spot. The regulations currently dictate that routine random drug testing only covers about 10% of active pilots.
Wait, really? Just 10%?
Yeah. That means the other 90% are flying completely untested unless an accident like a 300-foot midair drop forces the emergency protocol.
Wow. That kind of regulatory oversight brings us directly to the legislative rulemaking happening on the parliament floor right now. The center is preparing to aggressively push the FCRA Amendment Bill 2026 this week.
This is a huge deal for NGOs.
It is. This bill modifies the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. In simple terms, it creates a legal mechanism for the government to take direct, physical control of foreign-funded assets if an NGO's registration is canceled, surrendered, or simply expires.
Just expires.
Yeah. And the scale of this is hard to comprehend. Official records cited in the Hindustan Times show over 22,000 canceled NGO registrations and 15,000 expired ones.
Let's break down the mechanics of why this is causing absolute panic across the opposition. If an NGO loses its certification, Section 16A and 16B of this new bill don't just stop them from receiving new money.
Right.
Those sections vest their existing foreign funds and related physical assets directly in a government-designated authority. Imagine your driver's license expires, and instead of just telling you not to drive, the DMV comes to your house and permanently confiscates your car.
That is a terrifying analogy, but it's exactly why the Hindustan Times is reporting a highly coordinated resistance.
Yeah.
The Congress Party has issued a strict whip for its MPs, officially labeling the bill unconstitutional. The Trinamool Congress is calling the move draconian.
And regional and minority leaders, including the DMK and Christian organizations across Mizoram and Kerala, are sounding the alarm that this will financially cripple civil society operations overnight.
Right. And the government's underlying logic is national security, right? They argue they need robust oversight to ensure total accountability for how foreign money influences domestic affairs.
Sure, but the pushback is that this expands state power so bluntly that an NGO doing vital community work could lose its bank accounts and office computers instantly due to a lapsed registration, even if they have transitioned to running entirely on domestic funds.
It's definitely something we'll keep an eye on. Taking a quick bridge from the intense strategic battles on the parliament floor to the strategic laboratory of the cricket pitch.
Ah, yes.
India just secured a very clinical 6-wicket victory against SLC Aksai in their 3-day warm-up match in Colombo. They chased down 207 just before stumps, and the finish was incredibly aggressive, capped off by Mohammad Siraj hitting 3 consecutive sixes.
But, the final score isn't actually what matters here.
No.
The underlying psychology of a warm-up match is what's fascinating. CricBuzz provided a brilliant breakdown of the strategy. A warm-up game isn't about winning. It is about workload management, testing limits, and adapting your biomechanics to local conditions.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, you saw batters doing things that would get them benched in an official international fixture. They were retiring on purpose. Yashasvi Jaiswal hit a blistering 61 off just 43 balls, proved he had his eye in, and then voluntarily walked off the pitch to let someone else get batting practice.
And Shubman Gill opened the batting alongside him, which was vital since he missed the first innings due to an impact injury.
Right. It is a highly controlled environment. Even the Sri Lankan side batted at an accelerated pace and retired their own players just to keep the match fluid. The entire point is to get your fast bowlers into extended muscle-testing spells and give your wicketkeepers extended time under the sun without the rigid, win-at-all-costs constraints of a traditional test match.
So Siraj's aggressive hitting at the end was really just a bonus flex of form.
Exactly.
Keeping that momentum on national sports going, Prime Minister Modi spent his Sunday meeting with India's medal-winning contingent from the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games in New Delhi. India wrapped up those games with a highly respectable final tally of 39 medals, including 13 gold.
And if you analyze the breakdown of those numbers, as reported by The Telegraph, the boxing contingent is the undeniable crown jewel of this campaign.
Oh, without a doubt.
They delivered a historic, unprecedented haul of 10 medals, with 7 of them being gold. During the interaction with the Prime Minister, gold medalist Sakshi Chaudhary spoke extensively about the immense pride the athletes felt and how validating it was to be recognized at the highest level of government.
The Prime Minister actually used the phrase "Je kolega, wo kilega," encouraging them to leverage their platforms to inspire the next generation of youth.
And while a photo op like this might seem purely ceremonial, the institutional mechanics behind it are vital.
How so?
Well, recognizing these athletes boosts immediate morale, absolutely. But more importantly, a meeting like this justifies and legally reinforces the need for sustained, massive government investment in high-performance training systems. You simply do not pull 7 gold medals in boxing without decades of serious, localized infrastructure support, specialized coaching, and nutritional science backing you up.
Very true. For our final story today, we are zooming all the way out from national sports infrastructure to the hyperfragility of the global economy. Oil prices are spiking again. Yeah, Brent crude futures jumped to $84.79, and U.S. West Texas Intermediate climbed to $79.29 a barrel. According to Reuters, you can trace this immediate price shock directly back to the ongoing, anxiety-inducing uncertainty over the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
This is perhaps the ultimate example of how global markets are held hostage by geography. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical maritime choke points on the planet. At its narrowest, it is only about 21 miles wide.
Wow, that is narrow.
It is essentially the only major bridge out of town for Middle Eastern crude. If commercial shipping cannot pass through that tiny geographic window safely, the entire global energy market just goes into a panic.
And Reuters is reporting a very complex diplomatic knot here. Iran is claiming that a deal with Oman to establish brand new, safe shipping lanes is nearing completion.
But the mechanism of that deal has a massive catch. Iran explicitly stated that this progress is entirely dependent on the United States meeting additional, highly unspecified conditions.
Unspecified, that's never good for markets.
Exactly. So the price of the gas you put in your car tomorrow is currently dictated by a tense geopolitical triangle between Iran, Oman, and the U.S. Commodity traders are watching this diplomatic gridlock in real time, and every single day that the strait remains uncertain, that risk premium gets priced directly into the barrel of oil.
That concept, how quickly an abstract diplomatic standoff in the Middle East dictates your local gas prices, really echoes a much larger theme we have seen across all of today's sources. When you look at the landscape of 2026, you have to think about the sheer speed of consequence.
It is the defining feature of our time. Notice how rapidly a single digital rumor about a paintball gun in Jharkhand or a YouTube video in Kerala instantly escalates into real-world arrests and systemic paralysis.
Right.
Or how a lapsed registration can now trigger massive legislative mechanisms to seize an NGO's assets overnight. The feedback loop between an event, the outrage, and a sweeping policy change has never been shorter.
Which leaves you with a critical question to consider as you head into your week. We have clearly built digital and legislative systems that allow information, outrage, and penalty to travel at light speed. But have we built societal systems capable of verifying the truth as fast as it travels?
Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the sources shaping our world.
Have a great week ahead.